Hey there, everyone. I'm actually leaving right now from college. So, over the weekend, I watched the new Marvel movie, literally titled Captain Marvel. And I got a few things to say about this movie, not just about the film itself, but like what it's been through. And so, just for a little context for people who might not know, Captain Marvel, it's one of the final movies to be released in phase whatever of the Marvel universe, where it's just part of like a big story or whatever. But the point is like it's one of the Marvel movies, like one of the big ones, and I think it's been getting a undeserved amount of hate for like just for existing. It's just like, and let's just not beat around the bush. It's probably a lot of people are just panning the movie, regular people, because it's a woman and because she's not well known. It's not one of like the big Marvel characters, and those people are just say, come on, really, are we really gonna play this stupid fucking game of just like hating a movie because of no, like if you don't like the movie, that's fine, but don't like it because of a detail that has nothing to do with like the actual movie itself, with like how it's filmed, how it's acted, or the actors themselves. It's just like this movie's been getting a lot of hate for no reason, like unwarranted, just unnecessary hate, and that's the kind of shit I usually don't see like with most movies, because like with most movies, you just see like people, they hate it, like maybe not as much, but like this movie's been getting a lot of that. Just wanted to point that out. But like for the movie itself, I liked it a lot more than I was expecting to, because going into this movie, I wasn't expecting a lot, and it's not because I was like some of those other dumbasses who just hated the movie from the start. It's just that the movie, from like the trailers and the promotion and all that stuff, it just didn't seem like that interesting, and there were times where it did kind of feel like that was uninteresting, or sometimes it felt somehow forced. But overall, like I was walking into this movie, I had low expectations, and overall it was actually a pretty good movie, honestly. Like a lot, surprisingly great, honestly, and I think it deserves the credit that it's getting from the critics, and it really is, because like in the movie it's set up in like like a typical superhero formula or whatever, but like I think Marvel actually did a good job in that they didn't stick too closely to that, and they kind of switched it up a little bit. Like in the movie, like there are certain parts like you think it's going one way, and like it's just like typical, and just like you think it's just going one way, and that's the thing like I've had with like most of like the Marvel movies. Like you can, if you watch enough of them, you can kind of like expect like what's going to happen, or just like superhero movies in general, you can almost like figure out what's going to happen. But this movie actually did something new and innovative, I guess. Maybe it's not the best word to describe it, but like it was like refreshing. That's a better word. It was refreshing in that you thought it was going one way, but it turns out it was going in a different way. And from someone, I consider myself like a Marvel fan, but in the cinematic sense. Like I haven't read any of the comics. I'm not really that into it, but so I'm just looking at it from like a movie standpoint. But this movie does a surprisingly good job at a lot of things. Like it does a good job of telling the story. It does a good job with portraying like all the characters, and it actually does like another surprising thing where it's just like this movie takes place in '95, so it's like it's obviously not Captain America where he was like the first guy, but like it actually does a pretty good job of actually setting up like the modern Avengers, like what it basically like Captain America. Like this movie predates the Avengers, but this movie actually sets up like it's basically set up of what the Avengers were going to be like. This is like the beginning. Like it's with like Nick Fury, and Nick Fury actually, I think he was the best character in the film, just with like his comedic timing and just like acting overall. I think he did a great job. And also, I mean, it really is like just the setup and everything. It did pretty well, honestly, and I commend it for that. As for like the main character, like Captain Marvel, I can't remember the actress's name. She, for the most part, I think did a good job. There were times where it's just like it felt forced, and like oh, she's a woman, you know, women are powerful, whatever. It's just like literally like one of the lines in the movie where it's just like she's an Air Force pilot, and when she's going through like the training and stuff like that, like when she's in a bar, like in the middle of her training, like one of the dudes like comes up to her and it's just so blatant. It's just like he says like, you know why it's called a cockpit, right? And it's a cockpit, and it's just like, really, that's where those were the times where like, and it wasn't the only moment like that was like, oh, she's a woman or whatever. Those times especially felt forced, especially was like in that line itself. It's just, it's forced, and it's just like, do we have to do this? But thankfully, it wasn't really that big a part of the movie. Like where they played on, oh, she's a woman, it's just like that. They only did it like during the high points, but even then, it was kind of like they kept it in check enough so that it wasn't completely annoying. But like those parts, they felt forced, and at times they were annoying. But I think they did an okay job at it. They could have definitely done it better, but whatever. As for the character herself, like I said with Nick Fury, she isn't the best character, even though she's a title character. But so many movies are like that. So I think Nick Fury still is the best character in the movie. She's probably like a second or third, maybe, or with like the other aliens and stuff like that. But overall, I think she did a good job. Like she got the job done, and she had a few funny moments, which I genuinely enjoyed. And overall, I think that this movie really did a lot of surprising things. That it kind of busted out of the Marvel formula. It still kept a few things, but like overall, I think this movie is a good movie. I think it's definitely a movie, like if you're a Marvel fan, you should see it. If you're a fan of superhero movies, you should see it. If you're a fan of like, I don't know, like movies in general, you should see it. Like it's a good movie. It is good at what it is. It maybe exceeds a little better than that, but I don't know. I was just surprised at how good like it was. Again, I had low expectations, wasn't expecting much, but overall, like the story itself and like just all the characters and just like location and stuff like that, like everything in this movie was like better than expected, which is what you should go in. This movie is probably going to be better than you expect it to be. And overall, I would is it one of like the best Marvel movies? Of course not. Like it's like a mid-tier Marvel movie, like if you compare it to like all the others. But like honestly, I think it did a good job at like setting up her character. So like, okay, so I know her character, so I know what to expect of her in Endgame, which is like, that's a Marvel movie. Like of course we're all waiting for that. And overall, I think the movie did a good job of just setting up that character and just setting everything up for Endgame, so like you know like what to expect. And that's the important thing. Like all the other Marvel movies was like Infinity War and stuff like that. So overall, this movie, I would rank it like, I'd give it like a solid 7.5 maybe overall. Maybe it could have definitely been higher with like a few tweaks and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's a solid 7.5 for me, to be completely